Ruth, thank God you're here. Bring a little sanity to the place.
So, Pete,
What's the matter?
I couldn't hear what you said. Pastor, thank God you're here.
Well, that was important.
Probably is.
Nice and cool.
So, yeah, it feels good in here. Yeah.
Always ready.
It's gonna be nice to have air conditioning and better heat. It's coming. New roof.
You have air conditioning now.
We'll be here. Central air.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, we gotta do something. I never know how long to wait, but I want to honor the people that are here.
You keep getting my mail. I got that last week.
Ruth, can you hear me?
It's hard to hear you.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't think that's close enough.
You know, I'm shy. I'm a shy person.
Oh, my.
Sure. You all are.
I am. I don't like to, you know, and the older I get, the less I like to do it.
Now I'm here.
Okay? Bring this down. I call the AV department, but they're busy.
I have a hard time with it sometimes.
How's that? How's that? Better? Better? Ruth?
A little bit better. Coffee's on the way.
What am I doing? There, that's better.
Oh, that's cool.
It's empty.
That's cool.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's cool. It has an indent there.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Okay.
so, not to mention the kind of insurance you have, but if you look on the back of your insurance card, you can call them up and they'll tell you if they participate with the silver sneaker.
Oh, Planet Fitness does? But that's too far away. I don't want to go that far.
Sherman Fitness is in Poughkeepsie
Planet
as well.
Fitness, you're on your own, though. There's no classes, it's.
Right. It's just a gym.
it's just
I do all that at home.
Yeah.
There's a trainer, okay, you know, I went to Pauling to Vegas. There's a trainer right across, adjacent as you were, to the Vegas. And they have private trainers.
You got to pay for it, though. You got to pay for it.
Trainers too. No, the Silver Sneakers pays for it.
I'll look into it.
Okay,
There's
I'm going
Forza
to
in
leave this whole
town.
Silver Sneakers thing alone.
I wish they would name it something else. I don't like the name of it.
There's a Forza gym in town. Forza,
That's right down here.
right.
Yeah, I go over by, so I forget the name of it, but it's over by the dealership.
Oh.
Silver Sneakers, you don't like that, huh?
I do not like it.
I went to Forza, many years ago. I wanted to learn boxing.
Oh,
That was the hardest workout.
yeah, it would be. Yeah, yeah,
So hard.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of that stuff is hard to do. Yeah, I was there today at 7 o'clock in the morning. It was ugly.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, okay. Are we yet? Let's get started. Well, honor you. So this is the last chapter of Jonah. And this is, I mean, just to kind of, wrap things up. This book is found in what's called the minor prophet section of the Old Testament. There's major prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah, and then there's a bunch of little ones, the minor prophets, Amos, Obadiah, blah, 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 and Jonah. Okay. Have you heard that before?
I've heard that before.
Okay. And now, yeah, this is what's called the silver sneakers section of Jonah. 'Cause we can't let that go. All right, so okay, let's just read it, okay? There's a number of things on my mind with this, but we'll read it first. How about 1 through 5? Anyone game?
Chapter 4.
Please.
But this was very displeasing to Jonah, and he became angry. He prayed to the Lord and said, "O Lord, is not this what I said while I was still in my own country? That is why I fled to Tarshish at the beginning. For I knew that you are a gracious God and merciful, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love, and ready to relent from punishing. And now, O Lord, please take my life from me, for it is better for me to die than to live." And the Lord said, Is it right for you to be angry? Then Jonah went out of the city and sat down east of the city and made a booth for himself there. He sat under it in the shade, waiting to see what would become of the city.
Okay, thank you. So, why is he disappointed? Why is Jonah disappointed?
Because God's going to be merciful to the people that he was told that God was going to punish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was kind of hoping you'd kill all those people.
It was okay for God to be merciful to him, but not to others.
Right, here's the irony. There's a lot of irony in this little book. Yeah, he's fine with God being merciful to him. He's not fine with God being merciful to the Ninevites. And it's ugly, isn't it? Isn't it ugly? It's such an ugly, ugly story in that way. And then he's mad, he's pouting, and he's angry. He's angry at God. He's angry at the situation. Why did I even do this? I knew you were going to do this. I knew it. You're going to be merciful. And so this whole thing is a waste of time. I was on a ship. I was throwing up. They threw me in. I got swallowed by a fish. Went through this whole rigmarole for nothing.
So I was thinking, he's thinking to God, if you think of me that poorly, then just kill me. Because,
Right.
It's not worth me living.
Right. He's just a big baby,
Like
right?
extreme.
Yeah. Do you know people like that? They have a disappointment. There are different kinds of people. One, let's say somebody has a flat tire. All right. You've got one type of person who is going to get out the manual and fix it, right? You've got another kind of person that's going to hail, right, somebody to help them. You get another person that's going to make a phone call for a tow. And then you get another person that calls 911. Have you heard that one before?
No.
Yeah. Right? Everything's a panic. Panic. Everything's a panic.
I have a sister, Bernie, a year younger. I've lived with you younger than me. I've lived with her torture all my life.
A little bit like that.
Drama queen.
Drama.
Oh my God.
Well, Jonah is a drama queen. Right? I mean, really? Really? You're going to kill yourself? You want to be dead because you were inconvenienced? Right? Way, too much. Too much. And then, okay, so then what does he do? It's a funny story. So he's, God's listening to all this, okay. And then Jonah climbs up to a place where he can see Nineveh, just in case God wipes him out.
He doesn't want to miss it.
He doesn't want to miss it. He wants to get the best seat in the house or destruction. Maybe God has changed his mind. God has changed God's mind once. Maybe he'll do it again and wipe him out. He's horrendous. Jonah is just a horrendous human being.
So this is after the flood?
This is just a story about how God's people perceive others. And in this case, the Ninevites come out pretty good, and Jonah comes out pretty bad. So I wanted to ask you, he's complaining about this has been a complete and utter waste of time, right? That's the complaint, basically, if I understand it correctly. Complete waste of time. Have you ever had a waste of time that wasn't? When you look back, when you were in it, it was a complete and utter waste of time. It was insulting, just like this.
I didn't get that with Jonah before.
Which?
I think Odom's in agreement, like, when I see Odom, I was shaking his head. About like it was a waste of time. I never picked that message up in Jonah.
But you hear it now, right?
No, I didn't until you say something. I just always.
Well, that's what he's. I pray thee, Lord. Is it not? Is this not what I said when I was in my country? That's why I made haste to flee to Tarshish, for I knew that you are gracious, God, a God of mercy, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love. I knew you were going to do this.
I didn't get the fact that he was angry with God.
It says right here, he's angry, but it displeased Jonah exceedingly, and he was angry. That's what it says. Yeah, he's angry. He's.
Don't waste his time. Jonah's time.
Yeah, it's about. Yeah, God just wasted Jonah's time.
Oh, I didn't understand.
Yeah, not God. I'm talking about Jonah.
Jonah was saying this is a waste of my time.
Yeah,
I didn't understand the other way.
Yeah. He's saying I went through all this trauma, and I knew you were going to do this anyway. You're going to be merciful, but so I went through all this trauma for nothing, and
Feeling sorry for yourself.
terrible. He's a baby. He's just a drama.
I didn't get the sense that he fled Tarshish because he knew that God was going to be merciful to the people. He just didn't want to do what God.
No, he didn't want to do it. Now he's looking back and saying,
well, I thought this, and then
exactly.
It's lies.
Yeah, it's what? Say that.
It's lies.
Yeah, it's lies. He's changing the narrative to fit him.
Yeah.
Right? He's not seeing the picture that we want to save a whole city, this huge city. We want to save the city. And God never said, I'm going to destroy you. God said, repent. Bring judgment to them. He's the one that inflated everything. So he's not listening. He's not being obedient. He's not listening. It's all about him.
Yeah, he's spinning the story.
Yeah, he's spinning a different story. And don't we see that every day?
To make him look good.
Yeah, he wants to look good.
He's actually like a coward, right?
Yeah, he's an absolute coward. Yeah. And he has no empathy.
Yeah.
There's no empathy in him. To the very end, as we'll see. He doesn't get any empathy. He doesn't change.
They don't deserve another chance. They don't deserve anything.
Right, nobody does but me, I'm the star of the show here, right? And this is a parable about the nation. Just keep this in mind. It's not about one little person in a story. That's not why it's written. Jonah represents the people of God. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Jonah is the personification of the nation.
I didn't get that either.
Yeah, that's what's going on. Because the question that's alive behind this, we're going to lift up the hood, so to speak. What's behind this book is the question, how does the nation, God's people, relate to outsiders? That's the question. And okay, we see this in other places in the Bible too, right? We've seen this before. Well, I want to write a story about it. Like the book of Job is exactly like that. Okay, let's talk about human suffering and blah, 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 and let's write a story about it. You see what I mean? There's no Job. There's no Jonah. Because they're after bigger fish than just talking about two little people. It's about the nation. It's about the world in a story form.
So, this may sound ridiculous, but how many stories are real stories?
There are many. Well, there are different kinds of stories. You have this. It's like a parable. a little bit like a parable. So it's theological fiction. They want to make a point. They want to make a theological point, and let's tell a story about it. Beauty and the Beast, same thing. Is it possible for a human being to change who's selfish and mean? Can love change a man who acts like an animal? Can he become a human being? That's the story of Beauty and the Beast, right?
Right.
Do I have that right?
Yeah.
But-
I never looked at it that way either. I looked at it literally. The Beauty and the Beast.
Well, there's no beast. I mean, you can't go to the castle.
I took it like
Mrs.
growing up literal.
He was a nasty man,
Yeah, but
and
this
they
is-
put a curse on him.
But it's about a
I
question.
didn't think about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you came.
I know a lot of people like that.
Well, of course. Yeah, people. Well, this is what. Right. Of course. We all do. I mean, you might be looking at one right now. Yeah, these big stories in the Bible, these big stories that we read in novels and movies, they are so often about bigger questions. And then you could ask yourself the question, well, can love change a person who's an idiot and mean into somebody who's a human being? Is that true? Is it possible? That's the question of Beauty and the Beast.
So, being myself, how do you tell, or is it even important? How do you tell which stories are real and which stories are
Like historical stories. Well, they'll have more detail. They'll have dates usually. There will be corroborating evidence outside of, in this case, the Bible. Like with Jesus, was Jesus a real person or not? Well, we have lots of corroborating evidence outside of the Bible that said yes, he's alive. He lives. Josephus. There's a bunch of them. I think it's terribly important, if you want to say this happened, to have corroborating evidence outside that says yep. Otherwise, and also the literature itself. Isn't this fun, Ruth? You like this kind of stuff? The literature itself will sound, let's say, mythological, like the first 11 chapters of Genesis. These are mythological stories. Again, stories that have terribly important theological things to offer. But they're not, there's no Noah. People are up on Mount Ararat picking around looking for an ark. You got to be out of your mind. That's the story of Noah, for instance, is so much more important than whether we can find some boat up on a mountain. That's not the point of it. That story is far more important than that. Whether it happened, who cares whether it happened? They want to say, with the book of Noah, for instance, it's always happening. That's what a mythological story is. It's not a historical story. It's a story that says, this is always happening. The Garden of Eden, it's always happening. Right? That's what a mythological...
You just blew my mind, Pastor.
That's what happened 2 weeks ago. Blew my mind.
Well, we got to keep at this, because you will. It's like getting into new kind of water. You start to get used to it, like to be able to identify. The simplest thing is this. Well, listen, let's try this on for size. We'll get better at this. I know it takes time, but welcome to seminary. When you listen to a song and song lyrics, it's not history. You're not listening to history. It may be a story if it's like a country song or something, but it's musical lyrics. You have to read it as a musical lyric, not as history, right? Unless it's, I don't know, I can't, maybe they're historical songs, I don't know.
That's easier to decipher the Psalms. I'm with you on that.
Okay, well then there's all kinds of literature There's all kinds of literature, and each one, it's called Formgeschichte, by the way. Do you know that term? Formgeschichte is German. Anyway, it's kind of fun. See, this is all the stuff that's in here, you know. It's kind of fun if you let it out. In other words, Formgeschichte is there are different kinds of literature. Poetry, you know, lyrics of songs, history, mythological, blah blah blah. This is a parable, gospel. There's buckets of them. Different kinds of ways of writing, and therefore reading, because you have to read it as it's presented. You have to have a fair reading of the text. Otherwise, you're going to muck it up, right? You don't. Right? If God is a oak on the side of a stream, no, he's not. You see what I mean? Come on, you know. You have to respect the literature, and then you say, okay, what kind of literature we got here, and then you read it accordingly. So this, as I was saying, just burnt.
So basically, you can look at everything. It helps me, like what Odin's thinking too. So I was introducing on that. Is you have to look at everything, no matter what it might be.
Yeah.
It's a teaching and understanding of who God is.
That's right.
He's trying to move us to be.
That's right. Yep.
That's
Yep.
the bottom line.
That's the bottom line. Right.
And not get stuck on, is this a parable or is this a real person or
Well,
that pressure away.
well, it's like,
teaching.
right. Well, you have to say, okay, what do we got here? When I went to seminary, I went shopping around for seminaries, of course, and not knowing a thing about what I was about to do. But what I did ask when I went to each seminary, I said, "What are you going to do to me?" I was 22 or whatever I was, and I got all sorts of different answers, interesting answers. This is what we're going to do to you. Mm. And one seminary said, "We're going to teach you how to read." Mm. That's what he said. And then he said, we're going to teach you how to read the Bible. We're going to teach you how to read the newspaper. We're going to teach you how to read people. We're going to teach you how to read yourself. And, you know, there's a lot of different things that we have to read properly to be a faithful minister, let's say. You have to know how to read. Of course, I didn't go to that seminary, but anyway, I thought it was a good answer. They wanted me to go back for his 6th undergraduate year because I didn't have the right Latin and philosophy and so on. And I was broke. So, is that, I mean, we're still talking about this, and we've brought this up, you know, a number of times before, but there will be a moment, I think, it's happened to me too. I mean, I was awash in this in seminary, and when talking to other friends about this, who were studying there too, there will be a moment where it clicks. You'll go, click, got it. And then you're off to the races. Then you can read the Bible and other things too properly, let's say. I don't want to be too heavy-handed with that. But properly. This book of Jonah is about a nation. And the nation is represented by the person of Jonah. In other words, God is saying to the nation, go outside of yourself and interact with your neighbors who are not Jewish. And the nation is saying, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to go the other direction. And God then takes the nation and swallows them up. Got it? And
Meaning believers.
Pardon?
Nation meaning believers.
Meaning Jewish.
So Jonah represents Israel.
Yes, that's it. It's a story about Israel. Thank you.
Thank you. I was missing that link.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you know, I'm still learning too, for sure. And I've been at this for 50 years. So, yeah. So then it's dynamic, right? Where then this story becomes, it's not about a little, you know, Jewish person who's,
No,
you know,
it's heavy. It's heavy.
what's that?
It's heavy.
Yeah, it's much heavier. See, the Bible is after big fish, so to speak. Big fish. They're not about little stories, little cute little stories about Adam and Eve in the garden. Big deal. Who cares? I don't care. They're about big fish. That story represents big issues.
So,
You see what I mean? But they're using, in this case, Adam and Eve. It's a story about Adam and Eve, but that's not what the story is about. It's about you, and it's about me, and it's about us. You see what I mean? Big fish. Not a little story about a little couple.
but may I say something?
Sure.
The
Silver sneakers, and how do you get to...
silver sneakers and the story of Adam and Eve, in other words, speaks about a nation as well.
No, that one's after bigger than that. It's about humanity.
The world, yeah.
It's about all of us.
That's understandable.
That's a big one, right? It's a big, big story. It's not, we're not going to say we need to go to deepest, darkest Africa to find the Garden of Eden. You know, we've got people like that. That's not what it's about.
That's why all my life, I was wondering, well, where did their wives come from? Where did all what happened?
Yeah.
So it's not about it.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
And here's the thing. We've got to, if you were brought up in I know, well, you're right, and it makes a little more sense, right?
A lot more sense.
Well, there you go. So in the West, we're Westerners. You know, I'm talking about Europe and North America, let's say, and other places too. But let's just say that much. We love history. And what we say, and you hear it all the time, if it didn't happen, it's not true. Because we love history. If it happened, then it's true. It happened. Right? You get that? This is the water we swim in. This is the water we swim in. And the other thing is that we love science. So we're asking all the time of the Bible, let's say, and other things too, but the Bible. You hear it all the time. How did that happen?
That's probably why I don't like history.
Well, that's when. That has to do with when. Science is how. And the Bible does a terrible job with how and when. Terrible. And they don't care. They don't care how and when. Because they're after bigger fish. They are after who. Bible is great with who. And the Bible is great with why. Those are the two questions in the Bible that is the sweet spot for the Bible. Who and why. How and when. You know, Jesus puts mud on his hand to heal the blind person, right? This is how he did it. Really? You know? Really. Puts mud on his eyes. That's what the story says. They don't even care about that. They don't even care. It's just whatever, you know, whatever. There's people get all hung up on authorship. The Bible couldn't care less who wrote the Gospels. Couldn't care less who wrote Genesis. In fact, the oldest documents on these books, you know, you're not going to get a Bible. You have little shreds of things. But the oldest books in the Bible don't even have the author on it. It's not even on it. Because you don't care. The story's important, not the author. We're exactly the opposite. When you go to the bookstore, right? It's right. The author is in big print, and the title of the book is down here, little print. Because the person, the individual, it's the exact opposite in the Bible. We don't care who wrote it. We want to know if it's true.
Sometimes if you care, if you know who wrote it, it helps you put it in a place of thought.
Right. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. And that's a legitimate comment for sure. But even then, I mean, the closest to that is the letters of St. Paul, I would say.
Yeah.
We know St. Paul wrote most of those letters, not all of them.
Yeah, the stage is set, you know.
Right. But even like the book of Hebrews, which our tradition has said, you know, that's St. Paul. It's not St. Paul. I mean, a first year seminary student would know it's not St. Paul. It doesn't use the same words and ideas and nothing. But it may have been a disciple of Paul. You see what I mean? And they don't care. So we call it Pauline. It's a Pauline book, a Pauline letter. I'm talking about the book of Hebrews in the New Testament. And we don't care.
It's like when I was in business consulting, and I would say to somebody, I said, listen, you put your sign up there, you're a chiropractor. You put your sign up there, Dr. So-and-so, and chiropractor small. I said, that's the wrong way.
Well, there you go. The same idea.
Nobody knows who you are.
Yep.
You have to put chiropractor big.
Yep.
If you want to put your name, that has to be.
Exactly. The first thing I did when I got here at Lyall, my name was on that sign. I said, get that name off of there. It's the first thing I did. First week I was here, get that name off of there.
People don't care about them. They want
And
to
I
know
don't
what
care.
church it is.
And I don't care. Right. I'm not. So what we put up instead is recovery spoken here.
Recovery what?
Recovery is spoken here.
Oh.
Recovery, AA. We're recovering here, right? So I took the name off, put that on. Same idea.
Yeah.
Get that name off of there. So it's about us and our ministry trying to be faithful to God. That's what this is about. It's not about Tom Feet.
It's the message, not the message.
Exactly.
The good news, right?
Exactly.
That's why if we call a doctor Mr., they get all offended. It's doctor.
Yeah, well, I want to be called Your Majesty, of course. That's another issue. I mean, I've got plenty of ego. I don't need it stroked. Enough's enough.
But you just demonstrated
Yes,
that it's not.
absolutely.
Okay, so can we? Let's get back into. I mean, I think this is a fascinating subject for me.
You know,
No, it's not.
what he just said about Mr. and Dr. It was like, it's not the clout of the vessel of God. It's the clout of the message coming through the vessel of God.
Wait, I serve an office. That's how we put it in my tradition. It's the office of pastor. You serve an office. That's what you do, and you have to be faithful to your office as much as a human being can.
Yeah, you care.
And then the Episcopalians do a great job. They'll say, well, there are many offices, and another office is the office of Christian. Isn't that? I think that's very provocative. So all of us serve an office. It's called Christian. Pretty cool.
Never heard that.
Yeah, that was new to me too. Maybe I heard that maybe 10 years ago.
Versus what? Versus.
Just a person. I mean, we serve an office that has expectations. This is what we do. This is who we are.
Kingdom come is the office.
Yeah, we're called to an office that has expectations of us. I love that. I think that when I first heard it, I thought, yeah, I like that a lot. Okay, so let's read 6 through. So he's up on the hills. He's got a box seat up there, ready for God to change his mind again. He changed it once. Maybe he'll do it again and wipe them out. That'd be great. I love that. God, please destroy these horrible people. So 6 through, let's see what happens. Well, would someone read 6 through the end of the thing? End of the chapter?
The Lord God appointed a bush and made it come up over Jonah to shade over his head, to save him from his discomfort. So Jonah was very happy about the bush. But when dawn came up the next day, God appointed a worm that attacked the bush, so that it withered. When the sun rose, God prepared a sultry east wind, and the sun beat down on the head of Jonah, so that he was faint, and asked that he might die. He said, "It is better for me to die than to live."
Keep going. Yeah, keep going. Yeah. Please.
Jonah is reproved. But God said to Jonah, "Is it right for you to be angry about the bush?" And he said, "Yes, angry enough to die."
That's the third time.
Then the Lord said, "You are concerned about the bush, for which you did not labor and which you did not grow, It came into being in a night and perished in a night. And should I not be concerned about Nineveh, that great city in which there are more than 120,000 persons who do not know their right hand from their left, and also many animals?
That's powerful.
The end.
The many-
Go ahead, Ruth. What do you want to say?
I know, I was just saying, yeah, the end.
The end.
No,
The end. It's not going to help us.
We don't know what.
It's not going to help us.
What happened with Jonah.
The many animals got me.
Yeah. I want to bring that up. Yeah. Say more.
Oh, okay. I've often been told, you know, as most of you know, I have 7 cats in a 1-bedroom apartment. And I've often been told I'm going to receive blessings for that. But I don't look at it as though I'm going to receive blessings. Just having them is a blessing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well,
Why did they say he will be blessed for that? Because you're taking care of them?
Because, yeah,
Mercy.
taking care of
Stray cat?
not so much stray cat. It's not where the cat came from.
Right. It's just you caring for them.
It's just
there you go.
You can't have God's creatures
right.
living.
And that's what I think God is saying.
Yeah. Well,
And the animals.
really interesting. Yeah, that's a really interesting point. Talk to us about the animals in this story, because they play a part. The non-human. How did it start? The very beginning of Jonah. How does it start? When Nineveh is called to repent.
And the animals.
Right.
Yeah.
Sackcloth and ashes on the animals. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're part of his creation, right?
Yeah. And part of the story. They're part of the story.
It continues with everything.
They're part of the story. They have to repent too, right? That their change needs to happen with the animals in the beginning. And then what comes after that? Don't skip over the fish. The fish plays a part in this, a huge part in the story
That
too.
ate Jonah.
Right. Is that interesting?
Animals can change human minds.
And they can. These are the writers now, right? They want us to pay attention to this. Animals can play a part in the will of God. Okay? It's something to play with. Just play with it. That's what they want us to do. Is play with that idea. So it's not just about human beings. It's about the animal world. What happens to human beings impacts animals. And animals can also impact us. Right? It's really beautiful. This is old, you're right? But they're onto it. They're onto it. They're thinking about it.
As well as nature.
Yeah, they would say all of nature.
To the environment.
Exactly. It's not just a human story. It's a world story. And then at the end, it wasn't beautiful. It got the very end of it is about animals. The very last sentence. And what about the animals? God goes, what about the animals? Aren't they worth saving? Like, get it together.
Don't care about the humans, at least care about the animals.
Yeah, or they're all going to go. They all are together in Nineveh. I mean, come on. There's 120,000. Was it 120 or 125? I forget. Anyway, big town. 120?
120,000.
Yeah, 120,000 people. You don't care about them? You care about the stupid plant that gave you a little shade? I mean, what is the matter with you? So we've got first, in other words, this is Tom Feet now, but you've got first world problems. Have you heard that phrase before? I've got first world problems. That is, my doctor retired, and now I need to find a new doctor. I don't know what I'm going to do. That's a first world problem. There are doctors all over the place. That's a first world problem. A third world problem is what? What might that be?
World?
I can't eat.
Oh.
I got nothing to eat. I'm sick, and there are no doctors. That's a third world problem. And that's kind of what's going on here too. Jonah has first world problems. And he's become this thoughtless, feckless,
He feels entitled.
entitled, perfect word.
Entitled, yeah, it goes along with drama.
Well, yeah,
Drama
right.
person is like entitlement.
Right, you kind of lose your whole perspective. I mean, don't you care about 120,000 people and the animals? Don't you care?
You can't get
And the answer, we don't get an answer from Jonah, by the way, right? There is no answer. How is he going to say? What's he going to say? He might say, no, I don't care about him. So he's kind of a sociopath. He's a narcissist. And countries, again, this is about a country, this is about a nation. Nations can get like that, where you don't care about anyone outside of your borders. You don't care. And you treat them like God. We don't care if God wipes them out. We don't care. You hear that in the United States all the time. We don't care about the people beyond our borders.
Hungary was like that, and they were getting all the massive refugees.
Exactly. Right.
And they just shut down their border.
Right. Right. Or Italy has, get boat people from Africa. Just let them drown. And they do. Just let them drown. We don't care. And our southern border, it's the same thing. They're rapists. They're drug addicts. They're drug pushers. They're, pardon?
They probably are there. Not all.
Maybe 1 out of 500,000. Yeah. Not as many as us. See, that's the other problem. We got that problem here in spades.
But even the disagreement over supporting Ukraine.
Right. Exactly. Or the Palestinian-Israeli thing going on. You hear that, they're not human. They're not human. And then you hear it from both sides. They're not human. They're dogs or whatever, pigs. It goes on and on and on, rather than say, these are people made in the image of God, period. Now what are we going to do? These are people made in the image of God, and God loves them, period. Sorry, that's the way it is. If you're working out of the office of Christian, that's the way it is. No matter what your political views, God doesn't give a hang what your political view is. He wants all of us to act out of the office of Christian. Doesn't make it easier, I don't think. It does not make it easier, in my opinion. But that's the way it is. These are people for whom Christ died. Period.
And across the board, it's not a political thing. My heart goes out to the people here that are being destroyed by other, that are not being helped. So I don't think it's a
That too.
political thing. I'm involved with helping a lot of people, and I see people not affording rent.
Right, I see that too. Absolutely.
And it hurts my heart of Christ to see other people coming in, destroying that, and those people that have been here needing help are being forgotten.
Well, here's the thing about that. We have plenty of money for both. Plenty.
We're not getting it.
That's because our elected officials don't make it happen. We're spending $1 trillion per year on military defense. Every year, $1 trillion. And that is it's a legitimate need to have defense, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's going to other places. But we have plenty. We have tons of money. Free health care in this country is a piece of cake. Nothing. It's political will to do it. It's nothing to have everyone have health care. Nothing. It's nothing to have free education. Nothing. It's chump change for us. This is not expensive to do this. It's not. We've been hoodwinked to think it's expensive. It's not. and we accept this. I think it's totally unacceptable. The whole thing, what you said, Cindy, I totally agree with it. And we could change it like that. It's chump change.
You know, people you talk to,
They're wrong.
they don't help you.
I know, well, because we don't have wise political leaders, and I would say on either side of the aisle. I don't care. I'll put it positively. We need political leaders who see things wisely and can distribute.
Right.
Sir?
They see the truth of what's going on.
That's right.
Yeah.
And fix it, because we have plenty of money to do it. Fix it.
That's why methadone is free, and cancer medication you gotta pay.
Right. Oh, I've got a friend that may die because of that. Right? And I know there are limits. You know, there are some limits as far as care and how much is enough and blah, blah, blah. But in the main, this country is loaded financially. It's obscene how much this country has as far as finances. It's obscene.
That's why we give that money up, those, what do you call them, the checks that most people got?
Nothing.
You hear they got it. I haven't met anybody that got it. Social Security?
No, dear.
What do you mean?
After the pandemic,
Call
during
this
the pandemic.
stimulus.
Yeah, COVID.
Stimulus check.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we all got that. That's why inflation went up. A couple $1 trillion floating around. That creates inflation. And corporate greed didn't help. So anyway,
So back to Jonah.
back to Jonah. This is a commentary on the state of God's people. That's what the story's about. Okay? Do you care about outsiders? Is what God says, if I am reading that correctly, because I do. And you have to live with it. You're a special called people, and I think the Jewish people are. And certainly have carried, the mighty acts of God and the story along, for sure. We owe the Jewish people a lot. I mean, we wouldn't be here without them. But you have to figure out how to serve the world and love the world and not hope to God you wipe them out, that God wipes them out because God favors us more than them. You got to work that out. And I think we are in a similar situation. Those who have been given much, much is required. And it's pretty easy to do when you're loaded.
So we don't know whether Jonah learned something
Right.
from this about caring about
It
God's
won't tell us.
But I guess the important thing is whether or not we learn
Exactly.
something.
And that is a literary what do you call this? I'm getting tired now. It's a literary technique to not answer it,
Okay.
to leave it with a question. We have other examples too. The best one, I think, is the book of Mark, the Gospel of Mark, where that gospel ends with an empty tomb and the word terrified. Right? If you want to see the resurrected Jesus, you have to go to Galilee. That's all you get. In the Gospel of Mark, there is no encounter with the risen Jesus. None. For the same reason, or a similar reason. And the reason is, are you going to go to Galilee or not?
Because everybody has choice.
Right. Are you going to go or not? Right? It will not tie it up. And Jonah doesn't either, right? It ends with a question like, what?
The Bible is still giving us a story that points to the truth.
Yes.
If we will look at that.
Exactly.
Into it and try to understand what this particular story means.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's left open.
Yeah.
So it's
For us.
Yeah, so it's not about God is saying over and over again, listen, it's not about you, it's about my people.
Yeah.
You know, it's about everybody.
Yeah, it's how we're doing it. Yeah, exactly. It's how we're doing as a nation. The nation acts like a person, just like a family acts like a person, can be personified. In other words, a church can act like a person. A company can act like a person.
I want to correct that God loves that. It's about that person, but it's not just about that person. So I want to make sure, I'm not saying that God doesn't love that person. God loves all of these people, but you got to get out of the way because God's not just loving you.
Right. Well,
I wanted to
Well,
correct that.
well, here's the thing that's tricky too. I mean, we talked about literature and you know how to read different things. Well, here's the other thing too that's really tricky, I think, and that has to do with systems. Most of it, again, especially in the West, if you're from Europe and from North America, the individual is the most important. It's not the family. It's not the community. It's not the nation. The individual is the most important. I'm not saying the other ones aren't talked about, but we all know what we're saying, right? When it comes down to brass tacks in the West, the individual is number one. That is not the way it's done completely in the Bible. It's about we. And so there have been many theorists over the centuries where they'll say, there's a guy by the name of something. Anyway, it'll come to me. Very important theorist. Anyway, he would say that you have to have a balance between I and we to have a healthy society. You have to balance that. And he would say, Amitai Etzioni is his name. Amitai Etzioni. Anyway, he says, you know, every period, well, it'll go back and forth, right? You just don't want it to do, you know, I and we. You don't want just it to stay stuck there or here. So you hear people say things like, you know, I'm a free American. Yeah, I don't mean to get all over America, by the way. It's all over the place. But you'll hear all the time, well, I'm an individual. I'm an American. I have rights. I have blah blah blah. You know, you hear all that. And the opposite is socialism or communism. You hear that? And that's the negative. And then you hear other people on the left, let's say, that say we, you know, it's us. And they forget personal responsibility. Does that make sense? Yes. So and you see it all the time. So it's like this. And Etzioni will say, well, the problem is when you get stuck on either one, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. He wrote The Good Society, I think is the name of the book. Anyway, he's had the ear of presidents on either side of the aisle for years. I think he's dead now. But he had a long career. And I think you can look at churches like that too, right? Or teams, football teams. You can look at families like that. I, we. And you have to have a balance, and you can't get stuck. Makes sense, right? Isn't that interesting? And there's a lot of that in the Bible.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And we're done. Thanks, Odom, for gracing us.
Oh, thank you.
With that.
I learned a whole lot today.
Presents? Yeah, there's a lot going on. So we're done. Ruth, did you want to say something?
Bye. Bye, everybody.
It seems to me that God is really quite kind to Jonah as representative of the nation.
Yep.
I mean, the nation is not doing things well, just as Jonah isn't, but God keeps like giving him another chance,
Right.
or, you know, he grows the tree for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. But it's more than just teaching, it's acting it out.
Yeah, that's
His
interesting, yeah.
kindness
Yeah.
to Jonah, who is not doing the best that he can do. And he keeps kind of like forgiving him and like giving him another chance to, Jonah, let's try it again.
There's a graciousness there,
Yes,
right?
that's
It's
the
a
word,
graciousness
yes.
about God. Even if you're wayward, even if you're not doing what you should be doing, even if you're, hoping that people, are destroyed, there's still a graciousness with God. And like, come on,
That's moving.
It is moving.
That God is gracious to this man, and you can
And to the nation.
make it broader.
To the nation,
Yes,
right.
make it much broader.
Yeah, God is,
Nation,
yeah, God is gracious to the nation,
right.
even if they're not fulfilling God's will.
His graciousness is beautiful.
It's cool. I mean, it's
And then
classy.
after 40 years, you're not listening, you get swallowed up in the earth.
Well, it doesn't say that here, but
No, not here, other stuff. This wall, remember the Egyptians, when people didn't listen, they got swallowed up.
oh yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
opened
Right,
up,
right.
and I know from personal experience that God gives people that I have known one more time to repent, one more time to repent, and he goes, that's it. So.
Well, there's a certain point
Because the
where,
person chose not to go his way.
right. Well, that's hard. I would not interpret another person's life. It's none of my business. In my feeling.
Experience.
Yeah. Well, I do think there is a reality of cause and effect.
Yes,
Yeah. If you do this long enough, something's going to happen.
right.
I don't think God's grace is. I don't think God's grace is without effect. Let's put it that way. God is gracious to have some kind of effect, some kind of change. It's not to ignore the realities of what's going on. You see what I mean? In other words, you're going to get showered with blessing, no matter what you do. You got to be very wary of that. God is not a vending machine that you don't put money in.
Yeah.
God will not be mocked
Right.
either, right?
Yes.
I mean, let's be serious.
Yes.
And you hear that
That's
too.
serious, yeah.
Right, I can do whatever I want. Even
Right.
St. Paul says that. If we've been forgiven, this is St. Paul, if we've been forgiven, why not just keep sinning? Because some people were talking like that. You might as well.
I warn people when they go against what God says,
Yeah.
please don't ever mock God. You
Yeah.
see clips on YouTube,
Sure.
they'll say something, mock God. But I warn certain people about that.
Yeah, you got to watch it.
You gotta
Watch
He
it.
takes that seriously.
Yeah.